Hey guys, I'm Chad Hoover with Kayak Bass Fishing. If you're looking to get in on the exciting sport of kayak fishing yourself, check out kayakbassfishing.com. Yeah! Hey guys, Chad Hoover, Kayak Bass Fishing. I am here with a guy that I really need to introduce, but for those of you that might live under a rock, this is Dave Lefebre. All right, so we're up here in beautiful New York. I'm catching up with Dave after the KBF Open on Erie. Phenomenal event. Thanks to all of y'all that showed up. Unfortunately, I had a family issue, couldn't make it up to the event. I was super bummed. I love the area. I wanted to get out there and catch some smallmouth, but this guy put on a clinic for catching smallmouth from a kayak, beat the second closest competitor by almost 4 inches, and that guy's a hammer, right? We're not talking about a guy that hasn't done well on the series. We're not talking about, you know, scrubs. You fish against some of the top anglers in the country from a kayak. Would you call Erie your home waters?
Yeah, I call it my front yard.
It's his front yard. So he's fishing in his front yard. So then here's the thing. We're not going to talk about it in this video. We're going to do a whole nother topic on it where we talk about, you know, Dave fishing in the tournament. What we're doing right here is just kind of, Dave, I want to get your impression, your thoughts on your first, you know, organized kayak fishing tournament. I know you've been fishing out of the Bonafide SS127, but what's your thoughts on kayak fishing tournaments, the catch, photo, release concept in general, and the Erie Open? You know, just talk to us about that a little bit.
It's a loaded question, but I just love to fish, man. I'll fish off the bank if I have to. If there were no boats, I'd be looking for bridges, that kind of thing. So, been fishing out of a boat since I was a little baby, in a bass boat for 25, 30 years, and this is just something fresh to me. Something, you know, I've been out in this thing maybe 13 or 14 times in a kayak ever, period. So it's just something new to me, something fresh, something where you can set some goals and accomplish them, you know, and it's just an awesome deal to have a tournament of that size come to my hometown, and you know, sponsored by my buddies at the Erie Sports Commission. You know, it's like, man, how cool can it get? But my intention, you know, was not to fish the tournament, but go there like we do and just represent Bonafide and some of my, you know, brand new kayak partners, and it just kind of turned into that at the last second, and I was kind of glad that it did.
So let me just shed some light on it, because I did an interview with Dave on the phone before the event and after the event, and you know, he literally was kind of torn. Do I fish the event? Do I not fish the event? Fishing Online was a big sponsor of the event. They're actually a sponsor of Dave's. He's got a great relationship with those guys, and I felt like it was one of those, heck yeah, dude, you need to fish, you know. And here's the thing, guys like Dave, guys that are competitors, they're not just going to throw their hat in the ring and kind of fish for exhibition. You know, if you're going to put your money down, if you're going to jump in the tournament and you're going to put your reputation on the line, you're going to fish it to win it. And so that's what Dave did. Dave went out there, as he calls it, his front yard, caught the fish he needed to win the tournament. But listen, man, there was guys that were within striking distance, and then there were guys that fished the way that you fished in pre-fishing and then abandoned that pattern. They've gone on the forum since then, they've gone on the pages since then, and they're like, man, I knew I should have done that. So to me, what you did is it really stirred up the conversation. It really stirred up the sport of kayak fishing, and to me, it just shows where we're going, where we're headed. And I had to catch up with him in person. We talked about this on the phone. I watched the dialogue, and for one, a lot of people are like tagging me in Facebook posts, asking me to weigh in on it. And the problem is, a lot of times when I jump in on a question in the kayak fishing community, or if I jump in and give my answer, then that kind of caps the conversation, or it lights it on fire. Well, this one was on fire by itself, and I didn't want to cap the conversation. So I just sat back. I called Dave on the phone. We talked about his thoughts on it. I got his feedback. Because as a professional angler, I want to know what we're doing as a professional tournament series that is trying to evolve, that is trying to get better, that is trying to improve. And so immediately after the announcement of Dave's win, there were things like this. Hey man, I can't believe you let an Elite Series pro fish a kayak tournament. I can't believe you let a pro fisherman fish a kayak tournament. Oh yeah, I can't believe the guy went out and fished a tournament in his front yard. What did he really prove? You know, all those things just kind of churn. So for a lot of the people out there that jumped in on both sides of the conversation, one thing that I want to say before we even get started is this was a KBF Open event. An open event is a recruiting style event where you don't have to be a member, you don't have to be a part of the tour, you can just come out and fish to kind of try your hand at it. By being open, the definition of open is anybody can fish it. And so before we even get started, we couldn't have restricted who could fish it and not fish it because it's an open. And if we start doing that, then we don't really have an open. So the open series won't be in effect next year. We may bring it back in 2020 and beyond. But for next year, we're going to focus on growing the trail. We're going to focus on the professional side of the series and really make that Angler of the Year title mean something by having to commit to the event. So before I even get started with Dave's side, here's my side. It was an open event. I think an Elite Series Pro coming and fishing one of our events was one of the best things that could have happened for kayak fishing. I think it created a dialogue that needed to happen on both sides. Even though I say there shouldn't be sides, there are sides. I don't believe there should be the boat versus kayak, the kayak versus boat, the fly fisherman versus whatever. We're all fishermen first. Let's get each other's back, and then let all that other stuff just be stuff we do it for fun, just ribbing each other on the side, but not stuff that we tear each other down with publicly. So all that being said, and I was kind of long-winded. I want to know your thoughts. What is your thoughts like before, during, and after, right? Now that all this stuff has kind of happened, it actually worked out better that we're doing this interview now, right? Because we couldn't have predicted the conversation that has gone on since then. And we got a guy coming with the lawnmower. So we're going to let this guy with the lawnmower pass, and then we'll be back. Dave, tell us your thoughts, man.
You know, I'm torn on it, to be honest with you. I could go either way. You know, my thoughts basically are back and forth. You know, it depends on what day you talk to me. I feel like, you know, that the guys that are saying that pros shouldn't be allowed to fish those tournaments, I see their point 100%. I've always been an advocate throughout my career to try to, you know, discourage tour pros to fish, you know, lower level bass tournaments as well. But the way things, you know, have been going in the fishing industry overall, it's we've got too many gaps. So it's an argument where, you know, I can see both sides. You know, if I have 6 professional tournaments, what am I going to do the other, you know, 40 some weeks? So I see both sides, and I really thought long and hard about it for a whole day. And you know, when I got the opportunity and the thought was presented to me to actually participate in this event, I've got a you know, not a very long list of people that are involved in the kayak world to call for advice, but just enough of the good ones, and I got some sound advice, you know, and the feedback was overwhelmingly, yeah, you should fish. And so I basically got talked into it, and you know, once I knew it was a reality, I started to get excited. You know, I started to feel like, man, you know, it felt like, you know, like the Bassmasters Classic to me. It really did. And going back to what Chad said, you know, it's not something you got to look at it 2 ways. You're going to jump into this tournament either to have fun and screw around and not be, you know, not be competitive on purpose, or you're going to go in, you know, balls to the wall and try to win it. And I just found myself, you know, thinking the nights before the tournament that I wasn't that guy that could possibly just lay up. I felt like I had to, if I was going to do something like that. It's in my front yard. I know that a lot of people are going to expect me to win, so I just felt like, you know, I needed to fish that event to win, and that's what I did. And the guys, it's no understatement. I'll agree with what Chad said about the caliber of guys that are fishing the tournament. I'd heard of Jeff Rabbit. His name's Rabbit, but I don't remember his first name. Jeff. Yeah. He's a stick around there, and he's up there all the time. He fishes the lake more than I do. So, and there's other guys that I know that were in that event that have fished the lake more than I do. So, you know, it's just it wasn't one of those things. You know, I haven't heard any of the negativity. I haven't seen any of it. I have not seen one post. I know it's out there because I get asked about it, you know, all the time since that event. But me personally, I've heard nothing but 100% positive. Not one negative post of thousands after this event, private or public. So I think the way that it ultimately worked out was good for the sport. Not too damaging to me, thank goodness, and I'm pretty pleased with it all. I've got guys, you know, wanting me to fish the championship. I qualified for a championship that I had no idea about until after the award ceremony. Guys are saying, you know, you qualified for a big tournament, and you know, I've been asking guys what they thought about that, and everybody wants me to fish that. So unfortunately I can't, but it's been overwhelmingly positive.
Stop for a second. Do me hit pause.
So you know, after the award ceremony there in Erie, you know, guys started talking about this championship, which I had no idea about, and it's Red River, a place I'm real familiar with, that Louisiana area. I've done really well in that zone of the country. So there's a big tournament coming up there, and you know, I'm committed to a new tour that's coming out that I couldn't be more excited about. You know, the Bass Pro Tour and Major League Fishing. We're still, you know, trying to figure out what the schedules are going to be for 2019. There's a lot going on, you know, lots of big tournaments, lots of stuff going on. So, man, you know, even if there wasn't, you know, I'm still kind of on the fence about, you know, whether I should fish or whether I shouldn't fish. But so far, you know, the fans and the people that are in the kayak world that I'm obviously a newbie to are showing their support overwhelmingly. So we'll see what happens.
All right, Dave, I appreciate that. Listen, man, that's about the best answer that you could give. Here's one of the things that I'm excited about in the sport of fishing. Kayak fishing has been changing the conversation, you know, in little quadrants for the better part of 20 years. It's getting to where that noise is getting louder and louder and louder. Events like what you participated in are helping us with that discussion. But we have been working very hard in pioneering catch, photo, release, and pioneering being able to take better care of the fish. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot, and honestly, if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. But we have been excited about Major League Fishing from the beginning because of the fact that the fish is caught, put back in the water, and also because it breaks up the kind of rote, you know, schedule and the rote way that tournaments have been running for 50 years, you know, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm actually really good friends with Ray Scott. I'm really good friends with a lot of people at Bass. You know, I couldn't be more grateful and thankful. All of us should be, for what Bass has done for the sport, what they've done for conservation, and all these other things. But to me, what's exciting about what's going on now is it's going to open up the door for a lot of pros to kind of move into places where they had been blocked out. You know, it's going to open up, it's going to shake the world of fishing up, it's going to create dialogue, it's going to create conversation. But what I like about what Major League Fishing is doing is it's a quantum leap in the direction of conservation, perceived or otherwise. You know, because a lot of times we hear about fish kills after tournaments and they're blown out of proportion, right? A lot of times we hear about fish kills after tournaments, or, well, I don't think all the fish should be brought back and released in one location, all of those things. And what's beautiful about what Major League Fishing is doing is whether it is the model forever, the new model that everybody adopts, or whether it is just another model, it's still a model that changes the things that we do up. It changes up the 5-fish formula. It changes up the, you know, the weigh-in concept, and it makes it more about the event, the spectacle, and the anglers themselves. And so for me, I personally think having that top pro there, spending 5 minutes talking about himself, giving his sponsors some love, return on investment, and sharing with the anglers out there, or the fishermen out there, how he caught the fish, is more important than him standing there waggling 2 fish. Because what I like about the Major League format is there's more camera time on the anglers than there is any other time, and that's building your brand, that's building the angler's brand. But more importantly, it's letting us watch the anglers, see what they're doing, so we can all become better anglers by mimicking that. Because the other formats do a little cutaway. You get maybe, I watched 2 of them side by side, and I'm not going to say which one I compared, but in a Major League Fishing event, out of a 22-minute episode, what a 30-minute TV show is, there was 18 minutes of camera time on an angler fishing. On the other one, there was 6.5 minutes, okay? That's 4 times as much time that we as fans and consumers are getting to watch the guys and see what they're doing, but that's 4 times as much time that you guys are in front of the camera, getting your brand built, getting your sponsors some return on investment. And I think that's how the power comes back to the anglers. I think that's how we all grow. And that's what I've been trying to do with the Kayak Bass Fishing Organization. And so if you can, in whatever capacity that you can, you know, leaving one tour, going to another one, you know, knowing that could be some lateral movement in years to come. What are your thoughts on the Major League Fishing format, and how excited are you about that concept?
Man, I think you just covered it all.
Okay.
No, there's a lot going on. I mean, we're getting ready to be flipped on our ear. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So, you know, there's a lot of bittersweet, you know, there's emotions. You've seen 80 guys come out publicly with different creative little videos and figuring, you know, making their decisions and stuff like that. And you can see the emotion. It's not something that they're, you know, faking. It's a real deal. For me, you know, I fished FLW for 15 years, and I already had those emotions 3 years ago when I switched to bass. I did not like the politics that were going on at Bass. I left FLW because of politics. Swore I was going to stay out of politics. Went to Bass just to go fish, get away from it, and I could not make that happen. Too much going on, and too much of the things that I've been fighting for my entire career, along with other guys, like you said, taking care of the fish better, and we see it when we go to different cities. You know, these sponsors pay a lot of money. The local fishermen don't care about the money that's going back and forth. They care about us taking, you know, 3,000 or 5,000, whatever it is, bass from 80 miles south of here and bringing them, you know, taking them out of their area and putting them somewhere else. Those are viable concerns, and I see that. I see the you know, the fish kill stuff. We've heard that. You know, we do a very good job taking care of the fish. The organizations do it. We have the best biologists in the world that are handling all this. Not to mention, you know, TH Marine and companies that are investing a lot of money in products that protect the fish. I mean, our live wells are just now getting state of the art, and they're going bye-bye. So, and I need more storage anyway.
So it's funny. It's funny you said that, because that's actually one of the things that I'm excited about. I'm a product designer. Okay, I work with Bonafide. I've worked with, you know, tons of companies over the years. Spent a lot of time in aviation in the Navy before I retired, and I love the design concept. One of the first things that came to mind for me is, wow, man, I wonder what this is going to do to boat design. You know what I mean? Because honestly, like you said, I'm not saying it's going bye-bye, because you're still going to have all of these levels of sponsorship or levels of competition and levels of whatever that work their way up. But it's definitely going to become a major consideration. If you don't got to haul around 90 to 140 gallons of water, that's going to increase your fuel efficiency. That's going to mean you can get in skinnier water. That's going to change the type of boat you can run, the size power plant that you can put on that same boat to get it where it needs to go. So for me, I'm not picking sides, you know what I mean? And I'm not expecting anybody else to pick sides. What I like about it is I like the fact that now the largest organization in the world for bass fishing has a shakeup. I like the fact that they have to take a hard look at themselves and figure out, what is the survivability clause? What do we do now? Do we stick with our guns? Do we wave the white flag? Do we whatever? And a lot of people are posting Bass is dead. Bass is not dead. You know what I mean?
It's not going anywhere.
People are posting all this crazy stuff. But the fact of the matter is, I think that in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, we'll look back at 2019 as a defining moment in the evolution and the history and the sport of fishing itself. And I want to be part of that, you know, because I think that there's room for what we do. There's room for what Major League Fishing does, and there's room for what bass does, if everybody can just get together and figure out what's best for the fish, the anglers, the sport, and then obviously everybody's got to take care of the sponsors. And what I love about the sport, the way that Major League Fishing has gone, is Boyd's put a major emphasis on taking care of the anglers, and he's put a huge emphasis on taking care of the anglers and the angler sponsors, as well as the core sponsors, without having to, you know, stomp on anybody. It's a harmonious relationship that I've watched happen. I heard an interview since all of this started that I hadn't heard about Major League Fishing before, and it's kind of funny. Boyd Duggett said that he was following the World Series of Poker formula for Major League Fishing. I've actually used that in media kits and quotes for the 9 years that I've been doing Kayak Bass Fishing Tournaments, that I was following that same formula. So I'm using a bit of the CrossFit formula, where we create big spectacle events and then smaller events, and then a bit of the World Series of Poker formula. And I'm excited about the fact that guys like you made the choice to fish the series. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this by answering the question everybody asked me personally. Is, Chad, do you intend on allowing pros to fish the tournament series in the future? Well, we're getting rid of the opens next year. To be eligible for Angler of the Year, you got to fish 3 events. To qualify for the national championship, if you win a trail, you still have to fish 2 more events. So I welcome every pro in every tour and every walk of life to come out there and fish our series, but there won't be a one and done opportunity next year. So to answer that question that everybody has asked of me about your win is, yeah, if this happened next year, they would have to go fish 2 more events to be able to qualify, to be able to earn those Angler of the Year points. And so if a pro wants to come fish our tour and wants to use it to fill in some of those other weekends, I absolutely welcome it. I feel like it's going to be one of those things where some pros are going to get a rude awakening when they show up expecting to win.
That's why I'm going out on top.
And so anyway, yeah, you could pretty much just drop the mic and just walk off and say, yeah, I pretty much would win anyone I ever fish moving forward. But again, that's it, man. That's the thing, is I want to turn this conversation to the sport. I want to turn this conversation to where what we can do the best we can for the anglers. And I want to turn this conversation positive. I haven't always been the guy that didn't get sucked into garbage. You know, when somebody calls your baby ugly, you go defend it. And people have called KBF ugly for years because of envy, because of us actually legitimately dropping the ball. But we're learning, we're still young, and we're getting better every year. With your help, we can continue to do that. And with guys like this helping us get that visibility, you know, who knows? People might be choosing to commit to the KBF Tour in a few years. Cool. Actually, I'm not going to make anybody do that. But thanks, man.
All babies are ugly.
Yeah, that's true. All of them are ugly. Especially yours, right there, with the one with the chocolate on his face. That baby's ugly.
Am I talking to you or the camera?
Camera. We're going to use that, bud. We're going to use that.
Ding, ding. Man, it's cold.
And it's Lefebre, right? Bruh. Okay. So you hear it every different way.
It does not matter.
I've even heard people interview you in both ways, and you're like, you just say yes to whatever. So Lefebre.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. It matters to me because I like to get it right. All right. You ready? Go. You recording?
Yeah.